What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Justin, and today we're listening to ELP, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, with their song The Three Fates, of course, off of their self-titled album. It's funny because the other day I was listening to the album until it got to this song, so I could just, I like to listen to the album several times afterwards. It's not like my first listen is the only listen. I kind of forgot about it, and I started hearing something new, and I was like, oh no! And I really quickly stopped it. Listen, I like to keep a little bit of honesty in this channel. I like to keep a first listen as a first listen. So I've heard like the first 3 seconds of this song before. Anyways, I hope that you guys are having a fantastic day. You can join me on Twitter. You can join me in the comments down below, only if you want. And let's do it. This is The Three Fates by Emerson, Lake and Palmer. So I guess that was pretty much Emerson's song then. Because besides the ending, there was nothing but organ, piano, keyboard, a little bit of synth here and there, I think, in the first few solos. But that was pretty much Emerson's song until the ending. To be honest, on first listen, I didn't really enjoy it that much. So on first listen of this song, it's a lot to take in because there's a lot of technical wizardry going on. There's a lot of showmanship and showing off going on with the piano especially, and that's obvious, I suppose. And to be honest, I didn't really like it. It's not because of how chaotic the music became or how crowded even the sound was, because it did have a very crowded and full sound that could at some points even be disorienting, especially near the ending with the drums and creating this, I want to say, what was it, 7/8 maybe? I think the time signature was 7/8, but don't quote me on that because I'm still trying to figure out time signatures on my own. And the way that Emerson played in that time signature was really interesting. It was very abstract, the way that it was done. And this was definitely the much more experimental and progressive side of the album, the more crazy classical leaning, if you will. Kind of like the Barbarian, but I feel like this was even a little further out there. Coming back to the beginning of the song and that organ, that very massive sound, I've always talked about it. It's one of those sounds that can be too much if it's used too heavily or if it's leaned on too heavily in the song. And here, I felt this was kind of what I was talking about. It felt like just a little bit too much of the organ. I did enjoy those breaks that would come in after the organ would play. You would get a little bit of synth, I want to say. Like, this was a nice contrast between those big moments from the organ, because it allowed it to breathe, it allowed it to not build up too much to the point of exhaustion. And then it would come back. And I do like this very gothic melody that it has. I think that is an interesting sound. It's just not something I could see myself like listening to too often or too much. Now, as it moves out of that phase, we get this nice piano interlude, lots of beautiful melodies that go on, and some very technical playing as always. There's an interesting change in the rhythm in which he plays. Like I'm not watching a live thing, and my thing just died. Okay, but I can see his hands. One hand leading, one hand doing the chords in the back, and then they switch, and there's a lot of dancing going on just on the keys themselves with the way that he's playing. And then it eventually leads back into the organ briefly before it gets into the last third of the song, in which Palmer joins in on the drums. And I was trying to listen out, but you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think I heard anything from Lake necessarily on this one. Now, I do appreciate the ending because there's a lot of like counterbalances and counter melodies and counter rhythms kind of going on, because I can hear the drums setting up one thing and then Emerson's kind of playing a slightly different beat. It's an interesting contrast that comes together and then they kind of break apart again. So I think that's interesting to listen to from a technical standpoint. And as a matter of fact, that's kind of where I'm left with on this song, is that it sounds interesting from a technical standpoint. And besides that middle piano section, there's nothing that emotionally touches me. And that's what personally I'm looking for. I'm looking for the emotional investment. So it sounds kind of cool. I don't really like the organ that much in here. It sounds a little bit too cluttered to me, a little messy. And I enjoy a little bit of mess here and there. But if it doesn't touch me in an emotional level, then messy or clean, it doesn't really do anything for me. And even though there's no lyrics to this song, the subtitle of the song is Clotho, Lachesis, Atropos, and I might have mispronounced all of those, based off of the three fates from Greek mythology. But each of the three sisters represents someone who takes care of the thread, which is life in Greek mythology. Clotho was the spinner of the thread, Lachesis measured the thread, and then Atropos cuts the thread, ending life. So taking that into account, it is interesting the way that the song is basically broken up into three parts. The beginning with that big massive sound of the organ, so it's almost like life beginning, and then that nice piano section, which is nicely laid out, is kind of like life itself, and then the ending, which becomes chaotic, ending in that explosion sound effect representing the end of life. Like I said, it's still not really my favorite on the album, and to be honest, I didn't really like it that much. But maybe as a piano player or as a keyboard player, there's a lot more that you would be able to appreciate. So that's my final thoughts on this one as of right now. But what did you guys think? Of course, I want to know in the comments down below. You can join me on Twitter. Like I just said, you can join me in the comments down below. Hope that you're having a wonderful day, guys, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.